A member of Alpha Company, 3rd Battalion, 506th Infantry Regiment, 101st Airborne Division, has been coming to the Vietnam War Wall Memorial every year since the dedication in 1982. The regiment's motto, Currahee, is believed to come from a Cherokee word meaning stand alone. The soldiers are trained to perform as one, hence they stand alone in battle. After arriving in Vietnam during the rainy season, they worked their way north, getting into small battles along the way. The unit was well trained and ready to deal with the fighting, but the conditions they had to live in made things challenging. They dealt with never-ending bug bites and would often spend weeks on end living in the mud and water. They pushed through and ultimately made it to Firebase Betty and Phan Thiet, where they protected the base and the surrounding area. They went on patrols and got into a few encounters, but nothing they couldn't handle. I figured I was going to make it pretty easy out of Vietnam, and then Tet come along in '68, and that's when it really got bad, said Ron Ford, 2nd Platoon Fire Team Leader. The North Vietnamese led coordinated attacks in South Vietnam around the Lunar New Year celebration, Tet Win Dan, in what became known as the Tet Offensive. February 2, 1968, the 2nd Platoon was on patrol when they came up to two houses. The platoon leader, John Harrison, sent a fire team to check out the second house while his group took the first. While Harrison and his team were talking to a few locals from the first house, they suddenly heard automatic gunfire come from the other. Something didn't feel right, he recalled. And then the world opened up, on us. I've never, ever heard anything like the level of fire we heard then. They had walked into an ambush. This was the deadliest time for the unit during the war. Harrison and his team quickly took cover. He radioed the company commander that his platoon was taking fire from every angle. He then looked up and saw that the tree he was hiding behind was being completely ripped apart from the assault. That was the beginning of one long and very bad day, he said. Assessing the situation, Harrison saw that one of his men was shot and lying on the front porch of the house. He sent a team to go through the back of the house to get him, but the squad leader got shot as well. They regrouped in the first house and tried again to reach their wounded brothers, but to no avail. Harrison called in numerous airstrikes, even blowing the roof off the house, but they couldn't take control of the battle. Reluctantly, they had to withdraw. After nearly 9 hours of fighting, night finally came. Then a group of the men volunteered to go back for the others. They weren't sure if they were alive, but they couldn't leave them there. I would do anything to save any of the guys, Ford said. I think that's what made us special, that bond we had, that we still have. They made it through continuous enemy fire from multiple locations to find all three men, but they were already dead. They managed to bring each body back without taking any additional casualties. That was the worst day, in Vietnam, for us in 2nd Platoon, he explained. Unfortunately, things would not get better for them as Tet continued. More than 2 weeks later on February 19, the company engaged the Viet Cong in a firefight. The battalion commander, who was watching the battle from a helicopter, spotted the enemy changing positions. He ordered the 3rd Platoon to go after them. We got up, started moving, and all hell broke loose, said John Kern, 3rd Platoon member. Within minutes, exposed with no cover, the platoon took heavy damage. 8 men were killed and more than 20 were wounded, including John Kern. He was shot 4 times, and many were unsure if he would make it. I remember them saying John Kern's dead, he recalled. The next thing he knew, he was lying on the morgue floor toe-tagged. One medic didn't believe he was dead and went to get help. Another doctor checked the body by placing glasses under his nose to see if they would fog up. Nothing happened. Finally, the doctor stuck a pen in his foot for final confirmation, and sure enough, it jumped. They rushed him to a nearby hospital where he would recover until being transported to a medical facility back in the U.S. Many other wounded soldiers from that battle were also transported out to safety. The unit's losses that day were devastating for the company. The remaining men would continue to fight in other battles until eventually being sent home later that year. All told, 176 Currahee lives were lost during the war, with 26 of those from Alpha Company. In the years following the war, the men searched for ways to carry on after experiencing so much. I think you owe an obligation for the guys we lost to make a good life for yourself, Ford said. It wasn't easy for many of them, as some were spit on and ridiculed by the public for their involvement in the war. They also had to deal with the mental struggles of their experience. You have to wall things off or you just can't take it, Harrison said. Parts of war are awful. People that haven't done it have no idea how much death changes people. That mental toll affected many of the men and their relationships. As the years turned to decades, many of them started looking for ways to heal and reconnect with their Currahee brothers. Every year around Memorial Day, the men donate money to put flowers on the gravesites of all 176 Currahee men that were lost during the war.
To learn more about our incredible war heroes, please check out the book, Giant Killers, War Heroes and Special Forces Legends, available now on Amazon.